comments in the live chat box as well. So with that, let's get started. Today's guest is one of our favorite brand partners. We won't tell him that, but he's going to be listening. So that's Jason Radford with Broil King. And Broil King is is a barbecuing family that has been in business and building quality grills for more than 35 years. Broil King grills, many of which are built right here in North America, are built for people who want to enjoy a casual, relaxed style of everyday outdoor living. And today we're lucky to have a Broil King grill master, Jason Radford, joining us. With springtime right around the corner, even though it's not really looking like springtime where he's at today, he's going to show you how to get your grill ready for spring, how to use a pellet smoker and grill, and also how to cook the perfect steak. And we hope he gives us some of that steak this afternoon. So with that, let's welcome Jason, and hope you can live up to our expectation, my friend.
Thanks, Andy. Are we, there we go.
There we go. Yeah.
Welcome everybody.
Hey.
Welcome to Buffalo, New York, where it's been all 4 seasons today. We started off with a snowstorm, then it got warm and I got to set this up in a t-shirt, and now we're back to quasi windstorm / snow / feels like a Bills tailgate in November. So we're pretty used to this right now, but I'd like it to go away and we can just actually have grill season. So anyway, once again, Broil King Barbecues, as Andy said, we've been building grills for over 35 years. The company itself, Onward Manufacturing, has been in business for over 115. Still family run, still made in North America. We employ over 1,000 people in the US and over 500 in Canada. And, you know, we're still manufacturing grills even during this challenging time that we're going through. We have been deemed an essential service, and our grills are still being produced. So to all of our buyers and customers that are tuning in today, you will still be getting your Broil King grills. And during this time is actually a time where people are looking to upgrade their grill, using their points, using their recognition rewards to refresh their backyard. I've been doing more cooking than I've ever done in my entire life. I've been home more than I've ever been in my entire life. And I'm sure there's a lot of the IC sales guys that can say the same right now. My wife is happy that I'm just in the backyard right now and not destroying our kitchen as usual. So anyway, we're going to go over a couple of fun things today. One being how to clean your grill. Most people don't understand that there is the word clean and barbecue. They usually just kind of leave it and then wonder why it, you know, doesn't work as well or doesn't last as long. Well, what I always say is, do you clean your stove? And most people go, yeah. Well, why don't you clean your grill? So a couple things today. We've got some fun stuff. So I'm just, I've got my laptop here. This is Steve, my cameraman, which is basically this creation that I've come up with right here, which is, I'd call that redneck engineering. We've got some great stuff for you today. So we are going to be, you know, doing the perfect steak. We've got the, you know, the designer steak tomahawk that everyone wants to know how to cook, usually scared too. We've got some great Broil King accessories, but the best thing is later we will get to the pellet smoker that we've been having fun with since last night. But first things first, we're going to look at this great little Monarch that we've got here. Bear with me for just 1 second. I'm going to bring Steve, the cameraman, over a little bit, and we're going to tilt this down.
So I heard, Jason, before you get started with that, I heard Steve, your cameraman, has an interesting last name. Starts with Q?
Starts with Q?
Yeah, Quarantine. Steve Quarantine?
Steve,
yeah.
Quarantine cameraman. Yeah. So this is Quarantine Kitchen. And so a lot of what we're going to do today is I'm going to position the camera this way and kind of just show you guys the product itself, the great Broil King grill. And so this one's off, obviously, right now. With every Broil King barbecue, you get one of these things. And everyone always asks me, what the heck is this thing? Well, this is actually a grid lifter. So we intend you to clean your grill, which you generally don't, but we are going to show you how to do that nonetheless. So what you do is you see these two sections right here. This goes in the middle of your grid and you turn it, and then you pick up the grid, and it's a grid lifter. So you can actually get your grids out and not dirty your hands. First thing you want to do before you clean your barbecue is turn it on high, especially Broil King. These things are basically self-cleaning. Everybody knows that they run extremely hot. So they will burn off 90% of what you've got in there. You don't want all that carbon buildup. You don't want any of those, the fish taste in the bottom. If you burn your grill off, you will kill 90% of that. So you'll have a better grilling experience. So once you've let it cool down again, what you want to do is you want to take your grids out. We're just going to show you half the grill right now. So you basically, here's our flavor wave systems. You're going to take these guys out here. What you're going to do is you're going to take your barbecue brush. You're going to brush these off. I'm fortunate enough that this grill arrived a couple of days ago, so it's fairly new. And then once you get into the bottom of the grill, which you will see down here with our tube and tube burner system, what you want to do is just take your brush the sides of the burners, nice and easy like that. And then what you'll want to do is just take your shop vac and essentially just vacuum the bottom of the grill. All your grease pans and everything will be in the bottom. You can easily clean those out, replace those, essentially put everything back inside the Broil King barbecue. One thing while we have it apart, one of the reasons why a Broil King does cook so well is the fact that we do have a tube and tube burner system. Inside this tube, there's another tube that runs to about here, creates a vacuum and pulls the fuel back. If you've noticed in some of the import grills and other grills on the market that it's always hotter at the back of the grill than the front. Well, that's just basic physics where the gas gets to the back, stops, and builds up here. Well, we've created that patented system to bring the gas back to give you even heating throughout the entire barbecue. The other thing is everyone always complains about that your ignition system goes. If you see this collector box right here, that right there actually houses the Broil King ignition system, and it's a crossover. So there's two igniters in this box that connect to the button. You can hear it clicking there. And what that does is it protects the igniters. 99% of the time, if the igniter's clicking, it means your igniter still works. Also, there's a battery in there. So at the end of the winter, make sure you check the battery because it could have died because of the cold. But a particle of food gets into your igniter, it won't work. And that's why Broil King has created this collection box to protect your igniter and make it last a lot longer. So essentially, we're just gonna put this guy back. Those are the simple steps to clean your barbecue. Most people spend more time cleaning their stove than that on a nightly basis. Please do this once or twice a year, and you will have a much better performing grill and something that's gonna work a lot better. So what we're gonna do now is to show you how fast a Broil King, it's about 34 degrees here right now. It is not a nice day, it's windy. I'm gonna start this thing from cold and we will be ready to grill a steak at high heat by the time we're done talking about the pellet. So Andy, if you've got a few things to add, we're gonna just fire this up and move Steve, the cameraman, over and we'll go from there.
Oh, great. Okay. Well, we got a lot of people tuning in so far. It's looking good. We've got Shelly coming from BI Worldwide. So Shelly, welcome. A couple of our sales reps are on, and I see Mike Reinberg's joining us. So again, it's Andy Hudson. If you're just tuning in here, I'm with Incentive Concepts, and Jason is our grill master today, and he is going to show us a lot of tips on grilling. Oh, he's also just pointing out a great logo there on the pellet, which looks like a St. Louis Blues logo. So did you do that? Did you do that on purpose, Jason?
Well, by the way things are going, looks like you guys might just get defaulted back to back or something, you know what I mean? So anyway, no, it is to show that we do have a great custom program as well. And we're going to dive into that a little bit after, but our grills can be logoed. The key to our grills is once you logo them, they're still under warranty. They're done in our factories. And it's not just some promotional company throwing a sticker on something that will likely melt. So okay. Pellet grills. The one thing I want to talk about pellet grills is the fact that everyone, notice how I said pellet grill and not pellet smoker. A lot of people out there right now think that pellet grill means pellet smoking. No, it's an actual grill. It does everything. So you don't just have to smoke. You can go low and slow, but the Broil King ones, you can actually grill a steak on. We're the only ones in the market that will get over to 600 degrees. So you just press this little steak button. So if you look at the controls down here, so here's your main control unit on the Broil King pellet smoker. This is the Regal pellet series. So this is kind of our upgraded model. There is the Baron series, which is kind of sub $1,000 retails. And the Regal series is over $1,000 retails. But as you can see, this is kind of the set it and forget it motto. So essentially you've got your three main buttons right here. You've got the little bacon, you've got the chicken, and then you've got the steak. So if I want to grill a steak on this, I press the steak button. If I want to grill a chicken, I press the chicken. And if I want to do the bacon, which is pork shoulders, low and slow, press the bacon button. Very easy, Andy. Even you could use this thing. I'm very confident in your abilities to use this. If you want a specific temperature, all you do is turn the knob and then press the button and lock in the temp. The other nice thing is there's 2 probes that you can actually probe the meat. There is a Broil King app that I was using last night. I started a 9-pound pork shoulder at about 9:30 last night, ran it all last night, woke up this morning, checked my app beside my bed. The pork was temperaturing perfectly, and then I let it rest and bringing it back up to temperature again today. So
great. We do have a couple. We do have a couple questions coming in, Jason. Do you mind if I just? Okay, so actually, there's one comment and then one very important question.
Okay.
So Rich Graham says, "Happy to report freezing temps and snow at Broil King head office today."
Oh, good. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. So,
yeah.
Do you want to join in and maybe do something on the back patio? But that's cheating at the Broil King head office. The kitchen's indoors.
Oh, okay.
So,
okay.
You know, and they have the hood fan, so that's cheating.
Okay. And the probably the most important question we'll see all day is from Faye Dance, and she says, "Where is your dog?"
Everyone's wondering where Gus is, and unfortunately, if he was out here, he'd be barking at the FedEx truck or the Amazon truck or the UPS truck or whatever damn truck's coming by my house today, because we're all in that situation of no one goes anywhere. So, yeah, but maybe Gus will make an appearance at the end.
Oh, okay, great. All right, well, let's keep. Why don't you keep going with what you got here with this pellet? This is awesome looking grill.
Well, you know, everyone wants to kind of talk about how it runs. Well, it actually runs on pellets. So these are some wood pellets that you can get different flavors. You basically just pour them into this hopper. And depending on the number one question I always get is how fast does it go through pellets? Well, it all depends on the type of cooking you're doing. Last night, I ran over 8 hours of it running at about 230 degrees, and we didn't even go through the whole hopper. So a full bag's going to fill this hopper twice, maybe 2.5 times. So you're going to get quite a bit of cooking out of it. When you start cooking steaks and you really get it rocking and rolling, yes, it's going to start chewing through some pellets a little bit faster. But, you know, in terms of cost of use, it's going to be very similar to refilling propane tanks and everything else. So cooking on the pellet. Well, this is the cool part. This thing is extremely versatile. So number one, if you have a pellet smoker, you definitely need a Lodge cast iron pan. That's a nice plug for one of the other great incentive concept brands. But using a cast pan in here, I'd say almost every single time I cook with it, because a lot of the temperatures that you're using on a pellet smoker are similar temperatures that you'd use in your oven. So why use your oven? Everything here is very easy to do. Essentially, all I did was, these were fresh vegetables, you know, sweet potatoes, cauliflower, potatoes, onion, some fresh thyme, garlic, and salt and pepper, a couple of Brussels sprouts in there. I essentially started that with the chicken wings. I just let both of them go for about 2 hours at about 275 degrees. And you know what? You've got your perfect veg. Chicken wings, we went low and slow. They just sat in here. They're going to caramelize. They're going to look great. Got to have buffalo chicken wings. Obviously, I feel like I'm at the tailgate, so wings are a must in this area, as well as, you know, the hot sauce. So everyone always asks, how do you do buffalo hot sauce? Well, the key is you take, you know, your Frank's Red Hot or your standard hot sauce that you really enjoy, but the key is you got to melt a stick of butter in it. That's what gives you the true buffalo hot sauce. So everyone always asks me, why does the wing sauce taste different? Well, because it's full of butter, and that's why it tastes that much better. So essentially, I've melted a stick of butter in here, but I'm also just doing it all in the pellet smoker. You don't have to put that in the microwave. You don't have to do these separately. You don't have to deep fry them. They're a lot better for you, and they do taste better. And then in terms of a pork shoulder, this guy I ran last night for over, well, he's been on for 8.5, 9 hours. And then what I did after that is I essentially wrapped it in tin foil, put it into a small cooler, and just let it rest. So you're letting all that fat render back into the pulled pork, which will allow you to pull it properly and make it taste a lot better. Now I'm just kind of bringing it a little bit back up to temperature. Also, just kind of wanted to show you guys it looks better on the grill than it does on a cutting board, and we will pull that back after. Does anybody have any questions? Is there any other questions out there right now, Andy?
Yeah, actually, we got a few. Well, there's a lot of people saying, can you send some of that food down here? So somebody said down to New Jersey.
Jersey. Well,
yeah.
maybe. Well, the funniest thing is a bunch of my friends saw my Instagram today, and we've got 2 other couples that live close to our house, and there is Radford curbside pickup tonight for dinner
Okay.
because 9 pounds of pulled pork, wings, steaks, and everything is a little bit much for my wife and I. So
Okay.
we're feeding a couple of friends tonight as well.
Maybe. Hey, are there any homes for sale in your neighborhood? Maybe I'll move to Buffalo.
Well, there's one across the street.
Okay, perfect. Well, here's an actual question. It says, is it as easy to clean the pellet grill as your other gas grills?
Yes. So cleaning the pellet grill, there's basically 2 things that you have to do, or well, 3. There's at the bottom down here, there's an ash pan where essentially all the burnt wood, but it burns about 95% of it off. You clean that out once in a while. There's a drip pan on the left-hand side where the grease will run down and go into there. But same thing, bring it up to temperature, burn it off. That's the nice thing about the Broil King pellet is it will get up to 600 degrees where other pellets won't, and it just turns the sludge underneath. Ours, you can at least turn it to, burnt something. But there is actually a cleaning kit for it, or you just basically take a paint scraper and essentially there's a plate at the bottom of it that runs through the middle. And essentially all you do is just kind of take that, scrape the grease out of it, throw it in the garbage, and then away you go again. The key with the pellet smoker is please, it's not like your standard grill. You need to check that on a more regular basis than a standard grill, because you got to remember you're taking these large pieces of meat that tend to be a little bit fatty, very juicy, and you're running them for 8 to 10 hours, 12 hours, 15 hours. You're going to get a lot more buildup of fat residue and various other things than you will cooking high heat all the time like your steaks.
Yeah. One other question that came, well, a couple more questions. How long do the pellets last? You kind of answered that earlier, but maybe you can summarize that. And
Yeah.
do you only have to use Broil King branded pellets?
Okay, my personal answer to that is absolutely you have to use Broil King branded pellets. But no, when you do run out of your Broil King branded pellets, you can use various different pellets that are on the market. Wood is wood, works real. But the ones that I have found, the Broil King pellets, we've got some great flavors, as well as they're just the perfect size. And obviously they're designed for this unit. So they work really well.
And how long do they last? That was the other question.
It all depends on what you're cooking. Low and slow, they last quite long. If you're cooking steaks, obviously you're burning through them to get the temperature up a little bit more. But I'd say you'd go through a couple of bags in the summer if you're a standard cooking.
Okay.
So
and then another question just came in. Do pellet grills work on gas only or electric?
they're on a
Uh-oh, you hit mute, Jason.
Sorry, there we go. Fixed
That's
it.
all right.
Yeah. They only work on electric. They are not gas. Basically, they work on a fan and a pellet driver. So essentially, that's the whole system. It feeds pellets into a burn unit, and the fan controls the heat. So more air, more fire. So they're pretty simple, but they look really cool and they work really well.
All right.
So any other questions before we start kind of talking about some food?
No, it looks like we're in good shape here. We got a lot of people still tuning in, so it's good to see everybody out there. Keep typing in the questions, folks, and we'll be happy to. I'll read them to Jason, and he'll be happy to answer. But let's
Awesome.
get into what you got in front of us here now.
Yeah, this is the fun stuff right here. This is first things first when you're looking at steak is what to look for in a good quality steak. Part of my grilling life at Broil King is we did have a steak company at one point, and I was involved with that, and you learn to become a meat geek. So essentially what you want to look for when buying a steak is essentially the marbling in the middle of the steak. See this fleck marbling that's in here? That's what you want to look for. You don't want to look for that big stem, heavy fat. And a lean steak, yes, it's going to be good for you, but it's not going to taste nearly as good. Essentially, all this small, flaky marbling within this steak is going to melt while we're grilling that steak, and it's going to give you that steakhouse wonderful flavor. So, what we're going to do here is these two guys right here. We're going to quickly just do an easy seasoning. You don't need to do a lot with a good quality steak. A little bit of olive oil, very simple. Usually salt, pepper, garlic powder. I've kind of pre-mixed it here. Added a few other little spices here. This is kind of like a Montreal spice. But the key is when you season a steak, don't do this and think it's seasoned. Heavy seasoning. Half of this is going to fall off as soon as you put it onto the barbecue. So lots of seasoning, pat it down in there. And you want to coat the steak because once again, the only flavor that's going to penetrate this steak will stay on the outside of it. You're not marinating this. This is a high heat, high sear steak. So you're just basically going to pat that seasoning into that steak and away you go. The other part of today is everybody wants to talk about the designer steak, the good old tomahawk. Everyone's talking about it. The Salt Bay guy cooks it. It looks great in a restaurant. You get ripped off by buying one, but it's really cool. And everyone sees them in the grocery store, and people are generally worried about cooking them because generally they're about that thick. Wow. So you're dealing with a pretty serious piece of meat. Obviously, they're not the most cost-effective things in the world because you're literally paying for the bone. If you just cut that part off, it's just a thick ribeye, but it doesn't look nearly as cool. So essentially, we're going to show you the tips and tricks on how to cook one of those as well.
Those first steaks that you already seasoned, what type of cut are those?
Those are New York strips,
okay.
Which if you're going for a steak that essentially is good for everybody, the New York strip is the steak to go with. It's well marbled, still got lots of flavor. But once you get into a ribeye or anything along those lines, you're going to be dealing with a lot more marbling, a lot more fat, and sometimes that turns the odd person off. So
yeah, and we got Bobby asking, Bobby from California, do you need to trim all the outer fat down before you start, or so it chars too much? Doesn't char too much? Okay.
No, if you cook it properly, you will be fine. As well as I'm going to show you the easiest way to make sure that that fat renders and that fat doesn't burn. So that's kind of what you want to make sure that you do. So once again, we're going to do a little pivot over here. The little Monarch is rocking and rolling again. Mm-hmm. So as you can see, I started that, 15 minutes ago?
About, yeah.
If that. So we're already at 500 degrees. So Broil Kings run hot. And I'm really looking forward to warming my hands up over this guy right now because it's really cold. So anyway, we've got the grill up to temperature.
Looks good. I've actually got that grill in my backyard and I love it. It's very simple. It's not super fancy, but it works like a charm. Oh, you went on mute again, Jason.
Every time I move that thing, I somehow press that button.
That's all right.
The Monarch is a great little grill. We have a lot of fun with it. Personally, I could have any grill I really wanted, and I like having a little Monarch here. It works great, and it runs extremely hot. So when you live in this temperature, you need a hot grill. So essentially, we've got the grill nice and hot, and what I'm going to do is what we're going to do now is we're going to put the steaks on the grill. So what you can see is we're going to put them on an angle. You're going to hear that sear. We've got that nice sear on there. So you want to start them either on a 10 o'clock or a 2 o'clock angle. So what we're going to do is we're going to really try to get you to show those perfect grill marks. As well as the tomahawk is now going to come on here. The one thing with the tomahawk, always put tinfoil around the bone, otherwise the bone will burn and it'll look like crap. And you literally bought this steak because of presentation. You didn't buy it because of anything else other than you want to impress your neighbor with a tomahawk steak. Otherwise, you can just buy a ribeye. So those guys are on there right now, and we'll kind of get into 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes. 2 to 8 makes it great, and that's kind of the Broil King motto.
You went on mute again, Jason. Sorry, my friend.
I don't like that button. I'm going to move it away from the mouse pad.
When we have you back on here again, we're going to fix all these problems we've had. But this is I mean, everybody's experiencing this right now, like at the social distancing and Zoom and remote work type stuff. So we just got to roll with it. We just got to roll with it.
If the worst thing that's happened since the snowstorm and everything else that I've run into is the mute button while we're doing this so far, I'd say that we're doing pretty good, Andy.
Yeah. I mean, I'd give us about a B-.
B-, but we're getting an A+ on the food. So that's all that matters.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So anyway, as we're waiting for these steaks to sear on one side, we wanted to kind of go over the custom capabilities of Broil King as well. On Incentive Concepts website, there's some great sell sheets that Andy's sent out to most of our reps, kind of debriefing each one of these sections. And I know Andy has some screenshots coming up with that as well. But as you can see on this panel, this is actually the panel. Oh, there we go, Andy. Thank you. So the panel I was holding right there is actually one of the panels from the barbecue itself that we can now fully wrap. We're the only ones in the market right now that's going to have the ability to fully wrap the front panel. As well as the Monarch, you can also fully wrap that front panel because it's a single door, as well as the Baron 320. So those three units right there, ranging from $299 retail up to about a $500 retail. We can do full customization on them and fully wrapped panels. So that's great for your contesting programs, your dealer loaders, or just that brand that really wants to get their brand out there. So full wrap.
What about these options here? Can you talk about these options?
These options are much easier. These are kind of what we've been doing for a couple of years. We've just kind of tweaked it a little bit more. This is kind of more your simplified sticker that goes onto the front. We use only 3M material, which essentially is UV protectant. It's all the same stuff as a vehicle wrap. So you want to be able to do that as well. A little more cost effective. We've got lower minimums now, and we can customize on demand.
Okay. And then there's one other decoration method.
And then this is our #1 unit that we sell for prizing. A lot of people have a barbecue. Not everyone has a smoker. Great smoker, cabinet made in Tennessee. And we can do a custom plate on the bottom of that, which will allow it to logo at the bottom and it doesn't get hot right there.
Okay. And you mentioned this is made in Tennessee. I'm going back. Are all of the models that we see on these sales sheets made in North America, or some of them?
Some of them, like the keg and the pellet, are not. Okay. But all of our standard grills, just because our factories are set up in different ways, but all of our standard gas grills are made in North America, every single one of them. So the Baron series, which is your #1 seller, is made in Indiana. The smokers are made in Tennessee. Monarch is made in our Canadian facility. Imperial and Regal are also made in our Indiana facility.
Okay, I'm coming back to you now so we can see how those steaks are doing.
All right, so perfect. I'm doing the first flip right now.
Oh, that looks great.
If you see that first flip, we're gonna flip those over. I gotta get this designer bone in there. So as you can see, we've got the great grill marks on those steaks. Those are the Broil King heavy cast iron grids doing their job. We have 3 styles of grids at Broil King. We have your cast iron, we have your stainless steel, and their heavy rod, which is in our Regal series. And then if you have a few bucks to spare and you want the ultimate in grilling performance, we have our Imperial series, which is the top level Broil Kings that actually has something called cast stainless. You melt down the stainless steel and cast it, and essentially you're getting the best of both worlds. The maintenance of stainless steel, but the cooking performance of cast iron. Most grills on the market that have that cast stainless grid range from $8,000 to $12,000. You can do it for under $3,000 in a Broil King.
Wow. We got a few more questions. A few more questions came in while we're doing the other side there. So one of our friends, Jenny Stevens, you know Jenny, says,
"Hi, Jenny.
What is the decorating option on the Monarch?" We already kind of covered that. And then more importantly, she says, "And where do I set my beer?"
Well, the good news is Broil King has some great side shelves. They do fold down. We have lots of options for your beer. The nice part is the pellet smokers or the keg itself and our other smokers have bottle openers on the side. So that's very important. If you step up into our Regal or Imperial series, the nice part is in the front of the shelves, we actually have beer holders. So Broil King has thought of that. If you're freezing your butt off cooking in Canada or in Buffalo, you need to be able to drink during this in order to survive it. So while you're tailgating.
Well, thanks for that question, Jenny. And here's another question. Do you leave the burners on high the whole time? Need to keep the temp around 500, or what's the story there?
So essentially, everyone wants to know how your steak is cooked. So essentially, everyone do a virtual handshake right now. If you shake your hand out like this and you touch this fatty part on your hand, okay?
Yeah.
So that's a medium rare steak. If you touch here, you touch the steak, medium rare steak. Touch these two fingers lightly together. It gets a little bit harder. Okay, that's your medium rare steak. That's where your steak should be. Touch the steak. You go to your middle finger, it gets harder again. Well, that's your medium well. Go to your ring finger. All right, it gets really hard. That's your well done. Get to your baby finger, you burn it. Start again, go back to the grocery store. So that's a good way to kind of a trick that you can play and check out how you cook your steak. So now we're gonna do the important flip, okay? We're gonna pick this steak up. We're gonna quarter turn it and then flip it, okay? We're gonna flip the same thing, quarter turn, flip. The big dog's gonna go over. We're gonna quarter turn and flip him. And when you're talking about the burners, yes, now I'm gonna start turning them down. And we're gonna now cook the other two flips on more of a medium temperature because this is a hot grill. If you left it on high, you're gonna overchar it and you're gonna get a little bit too much cooking. But we got a little smoke going there. Essentially, the other end of it is now, so the pellet smoker, if you had enough temperature, and we were doing low and slow on it right now, but if I had that up at 600 degrees, the way I would cook that tomahawk on here is essentially I would rock it really hot, do the first two flips that I just did. Third flip, I would literally just bring this thing down in temperature. And essentially, we're going to put the last flip in the middle of the pellet, and you're just going to let that go low and slow. So we're actually going to move the tomahawk over there. We're going to finish the other steaks here. So if you look, we're going to flip this over. We're going to flip this guy over. The tomahawk, I'm now going to put over in here, finish him there. But the key with this is these steaks are a little thicker. So what you do is you turn the middle burner off and let that last flip sit in the burner that's off, okay? So essentially now you're circulating the heat around it. So in a steakhouse, when you cook a steak, when you get a steak from a steakhouse, you're essentially, they're gonna sear it, and then they're either gonna finish it in a salamander or an oven to cook it through. That's why you always get that sear, perfect cook, and sear again. So essentially, remember mom, medium off medium. What would mom do? If you turn your grill to mom, essentially you've now turned it into an oven. You're away from direct heat. You're going to finish those steaks off. You're going to basically turn it into an oven. So that's that way now.
The last time I have a funny story real quick, and I think the last time you and I had dinner together, I ordered something other than medium rare, and you told them no. You said you didn't let me order something that was medium.
Well, it was a nice steakhouse, and you know, you know, we want to make sure that we enjoy things to the best way we possibly can.
Well, thank you.
So anyway, we're gonna look now back over to. I'm gonna try to do this without hitting that button this time. Okay, we're gonna grab the laptop, and now, so look at that tomahawk. We've got some great grill marks on it right now. And what I'm gonna do is now I'm gonna let that just sit in the pellet smoker. The pellet smoker is sitting at about 300 degrees. We got our chicken wings up here. They're staying nice and warm. We've got our buffalo hot sauce right here that we'll throw in there. The steaks are finishing over there. Here's our pork shoulder that I pulled off when we were in a different cutout there. This is a Kale Slaw. And then kale's have been food shot decoration well before it was a $15 salad, but it's really good if you need to make a table look good. And I made a vinegar slaw in here. Then I also made a vinegar mustard glaze for the pulled pork. You don't always have to kill pulled pork with barbecue sauce. Everybody kind of gets into that whole barbecue sauce thing and just absolutely annihilates everything. You've spent a lot of time putting flavor into that meat and making it taste better. You don't need to just soak it with barbecue sauce. So essentially pull the pork, use a little bit of vinegar. That's more kind of Carolina style. Texas style is more the full on, like, put as heavy a barbecue sauce as you possibly can on it. Both sides are great. If you want to do a pulled pork sandwich, I like the full barbecue one. If you're serving it for lots of people, the full barbecue one is a much better option because you can rehydrate it with beer. You can add more sauce. So if you're doing volume pulled pork, definitely go barbecue sauce. If you're serving it kind of in a more intimate setting, or just trying to make slaw on the side and a little bit more, you can do more of a vinegar style. So
hey, while you're getting that ready, somebody watching Daniel Yurko says, rumor has it my wife has ordered a well done steak at a nice restaurant and the chef refused.
Well, you know what, that's okay too. That's the right way to do it. So we're going to let these steaks rest now. So these guys are going to sit on here. We're going to put these, wow, they really smell good.
Man,
if my friend Joe or Liam are watching right now, guys, this is what you're gonna have for dinner. So here you go. So
Joe and Liam, you picked a good friend.
So what we're gonna do is essentially you've got the steak now. So if you cut into that steak right now, all those juices and everything that you just put into that steak and seared off and used all that great cast iron and everything, you're just gonna let it out onto the cutting board. So think about the juices. The juices are going to try to get away from the heat. So once you hit that grid, juices are going, let me away from the hot area. So now, by letting them rest and sitting here, those juices are now going to go towards the cold air and essentially give you that sear, pink, sear versus brownish, sear, or sear, brown, pinkish, brown. You got to let those juices come back in. So don't rush the cooking. It's the same with the pulled pork. While those guys are going, the good news is my father-in-law is a doctor, and we have an abundance of rubber gloves during this time of need. So when you're pulling the pork on a pulled pork, gloves are really nice, especially right now, and especially if you're around a whole bunch of people. Also keeps them from burning your hands. The key with the pulled pork is you do want to let it cool down quite a bit. This I kind of just threw back on to warm it back up before we went live. But essentially what you can see here is, look how this is pulling apart. So this is completely falling apart. So it'll be a very easy cook. Essentially you can just grab your spare bowl, and if it's done correctly, you're going to see this wonderful bark on the pulled pork. So that's the good stuff right there. Essentially, you're going to see your smoke ring. The other thing is if you're smoking chicken and you're doing chicken on your pellet smoker, it'll freak the hell out of people on a regular basis. They think you didn't cook your chicken. Temperature is temperature. So the internal temperature of the chicken, 165, 170. The smoke ring will penetrate chicken and make it pink. So those wings, when I pull them off, they're going to look a little pink. They're cooked. They've been on there for 4.5 hours. They're definitely cooked. But people freak out. Oh, here comes the snow again. How nice. Welcome to Buffalo. But don't be afraid of this pink. If the pink is on the outside, it means it's a smoke ring. If pink's on the inside by the bone, that means you undercooked it. So definitely look for that. But as you can see, the juice that's coming out of this is absolutely unbelievable. Thanks, Ben Street, for little pointers last night on how to do this and at what times. But you can actually see the depth of the smoke ring on that piece of meat from here to here because I ran it all last night. So essentially all you want to do is pull that, and if everything went as planned, which it did, this will just essentially pull apart and you go from there. And once again, this is just, you can just see. So that's how you can tell that it's done properly, is essentially that all that fat has broken down. And essentially, this is just all pulling apart very easily.
Great.
So once again, it's a little bit of seasoning salt on the outside. The main part of this was time. I didn't do anything fancy. I put it on here. I stuck the probe in. I checked my app, and essentially, I wrapped it in tinfoil, put it in a cooler for a couple hours, let that fat render back. No different than your steak. You have to let the pulled pork rest to get all that heat and let all that tenderness kind of come back throughout the pulled pork. So the best way to
Great.
serve that is you kind of take a little of this, you put your little glaze on there, kind of mix that up, and essentially, you know, you can just any of your friends or whatever you want. I would plate a little bit of this coleslaw, like nice little vinegar slaw. You know, you don't have to pull, like a lot of people when they serve pulled pork, they get crazy and they have to shred the crap out of it. You know what? Just serve it like that, little coleslaw. You know, everyone else can enjoy it. They can pull it apart themselves. They can have a lot of fun with it. But that's a very simple meal right there. And that's 9 pounds of pulled pork that was $22. So you can feed a lot of people. It's all designed on cooking it low and slow, and it's very easy.
Looks delicious.
So now that we've let those steaks rest, how are we doing for time, Andy? I don't have a clock.
Well, we need to wrap it up pretty quick here, Jay.
Okay.
But,
all right.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to cut into the steak, and these could rest a little bit longer, but we would have got it perfect. But essentially, you've got your nice sear here. If we let these rest a little bit longer, it would have gone edge to edge on the pink, but you've got a perfect medium rare steak. 2, 2, 2, and 2, once again, and once again, a perfect medium rare steak. So the key to that cook right there was the fact that we did the 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes. You got your hash marks because you did the, you know, the flip with the quarter turn. And then the key was that last 2 to 3 minutes of indirect cooking, medium off medium. Great. So if you do all of that, you're going to get a perfect medium rare steak every time. If you just kind of follow general rule of thumb with the pellet smokers, it's idiot proof. Like really, you just kind of throw it on there, set your temperature, set your probe, check your app. Once again, don't over sauce, let the flavor come from the grill from the time, and just keep on grilling.
All right. So we've got one more question, and then we're going to probably have to wrap it up. But Kevin Hagan asks, can you please share any success stories in our channel over the last month in regards to the pandemic? And then maybe you can mention the Regal special right now, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, well, you know, throughout this entire time, like I said, Broil King is pretty much the only North American manufacturer left. We've kept both our plants open during this this unique time. They're still employing all the American jobs. No one's lost their job around here. And the success story is it's a need and a want. There's a lot of stuff in our market that is a want. You know, I'm not going to say anything because I'll probably step on a brand. But during this time of need, a new barbecue is something that the whole family can use. They can enjoy. Looks like we're in this for another couple of weeks. So people during these types of times of recessions or challenges, grills tend to be one of those items that perform well, and especially a grill that is made in the USA. And then we have a great special on right now. So to all of our buyers that have tuned in, would appreciate you listing, or if you have a current listing of a Broil King Regal, we have authorized a free cover and a free grill light to any Regal grill from Broil King. That includes the new Regal pellet smokers as well. So we kept it very simple. If the word Regal is in front of it, whether it's the 420, 440, 470, 490, the pellet, if the word Regal is in front of it, it's eligible for the promotion. And it's not just the promotion for new orders. If you have this grill listed in your programs anywhere, you are getting the free cover and the free tool set, or the free light. The cover is not some, you know, garbage bag cover, as we call them in the industry. This is actually a very heavy duty cover. I actually have one. It's the same one as for the Monarch. I'll show you when we go back on, but it's a very high-end premium cover, and the grill light, and actually the value between the two of them is over $100. And anybody, so here's the cover. So this is my Monarch one, but as you can see, it's fully embroidered with Broil King. You've got these heavy duty handles on the outside of it, the baseball stitch blue interior vents. It's a premium cover. It's going to last you a long time, but this applies to anything that says Regal. And you guys can see the snow again. God, I love it here.
Yeah. Well, hey, So thank you so very much. We went a little over our time, but I think people don't mind if they're learning about how
What else
to
are we
cook a
gonna
steak. So yeah, exactly. So no, we really appreciate it. And we appreciate everybody tuning in. This was great. We're gonna try to do this every week here coming up. So a week from today at the same time, 2:30 Eastern, 1:30 Central, we're going to have our own Billy Reese on as our next guest. She's our VP of Administration, and she's going to talk about incentive concepts, our culture, our service values. So make sure to tune in for that, incentiveconcepts.com/live. So again, Jason, thank you so very much. We appreciate it. And everybody have a good one. Stay safe and take care. All right. See you, Jason.
Keep grilling. See ya.
There you go.